I'm Ganesh Harinath. The topic today is 6G as an experience platform. I would request each one of you to have your phone ready. I tried a speed test. So 2.6 Mbps on Wi-Fi and 80 Mbps, wireless and 80 Mbps on Wi-Fi. So guest network would be great, or if you're already on the Wi-Fi, that would be great. Primarily because it's going to be interactive. And you'll actually get to see a Louis Vuitton experience on the phone. And I'll try to refrain from using the word AI because everything that you click is powered by AI behind the scene. But I also want to paint the context in terms of how 6G could be transformational in terms of what we are actually seeing on the phone. Why do I love phones? 6 billion devices across the globe. When you make something work on the phone, it's just fascinating and exciting. And one of the reasons, or the driving function was, I was the vice president and chief technology officer at Verizon, spent 9 years, built an enterprise AI system or business, $100 million, moves very slow. I was chasing something with which I can move fast, and here we are. And a lot of it is live experiences, and the first, I'm going to share 3 stories. The first story is my own trip to New York and back, and how 6G could be transformational very soon in the future. The second one is our own shopping experiences. I'm very keen about, our company is very keen about enhancing brand experiences and defining that next generation interaction. By the way, everything that I speak is on the phone and across multiple languages too. And the third, I'm sure, would be very near and dear for many of you, the Snapdragon Stadium, Aztecs, and Qualcomm. Who doesn't like it, right? So we'll actually see that on the phone. So with that, I was in New York. I'm based out of San Francisco to New York, NRF and back. Few things that I highlighted before, right? This is the ground truth. So just because of work reasons, I was exploring a lot of solutions in the Napa region. This is the fields. Wi-Fi doesn't work. I was highlighting the exact same thing. New York, right? We expect wireless to work very well. Because it's a conference, I had a hard time. And that's the state of affairs. But still, how do you make things work? And that's where Fiducia focuses on really optimizing almost every bit to make these experiences live. And this is a reflection of my own trip. It was very unique, exciting, and memorable. Like I said, I'm a dreamer. I always socialized multimodal transportation while I was at Verizon because I used to very proudly say that would happen on Verizon network. And this was a trip where I had to walk to the helipad, got into a helicopter, JFK, 10 minutes, versus Uber, 1 hour, 15 minutes. The reason why I thought I would highlight this is, this was very manual, no AI. A pilot was actually flying the helicopter. And what I envision in the future with 6G is autonomous drones, right, from point A to point B, with high cost efficiencies could be the future. Now, the difference, 5G is already there. It addresses certain of the problems, but not everything is actually used within a helicopter. But when you actually start to look at 6G, it's just fascinating, right? Sensing is such a powerful capability. Digital twin is such a powerful capability. And network reliability, when you add all these things, I believe we are not too far away from autonomous drone, which would become part of the multimodal transportation. Now, this is our own story. This is where it gets exciting. If that's okay with you, if you can open your phone and then scan the QR code up on right, which I will do too because I have to look at it to talk. I call it the AI lens. It's a real camera, but when you snap a picture, it is actually powered by AI. If you're in a Louis Vuitton store and you actually do object detection, it can actually start to detect all the objects. And this is real, by the way, for Fiducia. And then we made it very, very seamless. You can turn off the camera, then you have a background with people with a purse. There's an AI button up on top. You can actually hit the AI button. And it's a conversation starter, right? Where things get exciting, and then the example that I want to highlight today is language barriers. There's a microphone there. If we can actually click the microphone, which I'll do, I'll step out and click, and it picks up any language. I'm going to speak in a non-English language, Telugu, from India, and I'm going to say, oh, do you have anything for dogs or pets? which is totally different conversation when you talk about Louis Vuitton. But in this case, yes, they do have some, which I realized later. You'll actually start to see that. I'll do an experiment. Feel free to do your experiment. And by the way, I'll be happy to share the slides. You can continue to use these activation at a later time too. And I'm counting time too. I start to see the response back in Telugu, which is a language. And I did not say it was Telugu, by the way. It was auto-detected. It reflects back, so response back. There's a link. You can click on the link, and then literally you actually go to something related to pets, right? To me, that is fascinating. And there's a lot of things that actually happen behind the scene, which I'll walk you through depending upon the time. But what I wanted to highlight is, which I learned, by the way, on my way, I said, how many people speak English throughout the world? 20% or less. So 80% of them, they have to figure out a way. So if AI is making tremendous amount of progress, and look at the language, they are not included. But in this case, as we start to realize, these are barriers that AI could actually, I got very excited. Right? I hope some of you are able to try, and then I'll be happy to share. And it's all about swipe and scroll. The next one is even more exciting, by the way. The next one is a try-on. And this is try-on a phone, which happens in 6 seconds or less. And that's where 6G could get it down to almost 0 seconds or in milliseconds. Right? I do a swipe. I actually get to pick different dress. I'll pick the last one, which is my favorite. And that's selected. Turn on the camera. All you need to do is you can do a selfie, or you can time it, and then you can actually snap a picture. It takes 6 seconds, and then you'll see yourselves in a dress that you actually chose. Okay? That to me is complete personalization. What exactly did it take for this activation to be live? Did we have to do a 3D model? No. Just a digital image of a dress right there. And what you do is snapping a picture. And now I want to highlight one of the very commonly spoke topic about upload. This is a scenario where the we upload a picture, and we use an AI model on the cloud to blend, diffuse, and then get a try-on image back. Right? The upload is slow. Where my engineers are spending more time? They're not spending a lot of time on really solving this problem. It's not a machine learning problem. They're actually trying to optimize the size of the image so that it can be uploaded quickly, and we can actually bring that response down from 6 seconds to 3 seconds or 4 seconds on the given bandwidth, what we have today. So these are some examples or experiences. When you swipe, you can actually see a 3D model bag. You can bring the 3D model bag into the room, right? And then you can just continue to see pictures, and then the list goes on. So what exactly did we do now? We tried to personalize some of our experiences around Louis Vuitton on our phone, trying to request for information, trying to personalize our experiences. And for the brand, it's called brand engagement. We are defining the next generation of brand engagement. And then 2, conversion is important. Right? So those try-ons have a buy button. You can just go click and buy. And my kids, they click share immediately, and then they share. So this is real marketing, and that's where our focus is. And what's exciting is we don't complain that things are not working. 5G is awesome already. We just have to figure out where we want to spend time and stitch all these things together and make it work. But interestingly, there would have been 4 to 5 different machine learning models that were actually hit on different actions across multiple cloud, with IBM Cloud being the center. We are sitting on IBM Cloud, and then we are actually talking to different clouds to perform certain activities and actions. Now, that's where things get a little exciting when we actually start to roll through the slides. So this is what we were actually discussing. It's a high-level flow. Pardon any typos. Almost every slide is AI generated. I had a thought. In 3 minutes, I was able to actually generate the slide. All right? It saved me a lot of time, but it actually gave me a tool to express myself much better than a few words and then text boxes here and then there. All right? So what I was actually trying to say is, okay, this language barriers can be erased on the phone that we have today, thanks to AI. Now, this is even more exciting because some of the problems that we are actually starting to see. There's a company called Iterate. I know John, who runs the company, very well. I met him recently, and then we walked into the Qualcomm booth, and Zebra device and NPUs. That's the experiment they're actually doing. Imagine the language translation model is actually sitting right there. You solve half of the problem. Why should the language translation be across 100 clouds and 200 locations and then all these difficulties? It's a problem that has to be solved holistically. And if a telco solves this problem, that's about it. When you build applications, you don't think about solving this very broad problems that are already solved. You just start using these APIs and make it work. And in this case, this is an area where we are going to continue to explore to see how NPUs can be used to solve some of the problems, right? It's a very interesting next step. It gets even more exciting with 6G, primarily because now the options are plenty. And one thing that I did not highlight is the context orchestrator, which is kind of the core of the functionality that would evolve over a period of time, and that's where our focus is, which would actually decide. And that, by the way, that's in the browser. What did you try? You tried it in a browser, no apps. And it was very contextual. It was a Louis Vuitton store. I'll paint a picture with a 6G just in a few minutes. You are able to actually see it in 3-dimensional. You could bring it into the room. You saw a try-on, everything on the phone. And with 6G, the exact same, I'm in and out. So the exact same Louis Vuitton store would be very, very, very different. I would be able to actually walk into the room on the phone and be able to see things up close, interface with it, engage it, and that's complete personalization and brand engagement. Now, just to conclude here, now we have the power to actually process things locally or actually push it to the cloud. And who would actually determine that? In our case, we want that our orchestrator to be so powerful, which would actually navigate through all these things and help build awesome, stunning experiences on the phone. And the excitement is because of the number of users. Sports is global. The first problem is solved. Across multiple languages, you ask a question about a player, ask a question about Snapdragon Stadium in almost any language, it will actually start to answer today. The relationship between Qualcomm and Snapdragon Stadium. Ask a question about a player. Snap a picture of a player with a jersey. It will actually start to tell a story. And this is where a lot of conversation happens around hallucination. And in this case, we did not do it, but you can actually put guardrails. There are two things that we need to do to make these things work stunningly well and to the taste of the brand. And we are still learning too. There's a lot of learning that's actually going on here. One is, where is the knowledge coming from? Do you want to depend on the trained LLM, or do you want to feed in the knowledge? We feed in the knowledge. The second, you put a guardrail to say, this LLM is going to respond only about Qualcomm, Snapdragon, and a few other things. And it's going to respond only. This is how you actually control some of the hallucination and get a working product going. And this space is exciting primarily because anything and everything that you actually see on those activations is public information. You don't have to work through the security channels to get a clearance to actually get this done, right? And we are starting to see a lot of excitement. In the US, $1 trillion business is sports. We assume most often, right, even the teams, they assume a lot of the thing is actually happening in the stadium. 1000x is outside. 1000x is these activations that we actually see on the phone, where how we engage. A lot of the barriers are removed too. The language barrier is removed. It's almost frictionless if you have a 5G connectivity, assuming, right? Imagine with 6G, you can actually bring the player into the room. You can have a selfie with him. Plenty to think about. And I've said a lot of things primarily because of the excitement of how these consumers and fans would be able to experience a lot of these things, not just from some of the activations that we are doing, but because a lot of these capabilities have become a utility. AI has become a utility. Making 10 AI calls across one activation is very inexpensive today. By the way, the exact same activation can be trained to detect people, can be trained to detect objects. Now suddenly let's flip. I'm walking into an industrial setting. It is trained to have the knowledge about a crack. I snap a picture about the crack. It'll actually give me advice in terms of what I need to do and the corrective actions that we need to take. It's a very, very horizontal problem, but something very fascinating, which is very horizontal, is we moved to a very different modality, and that is visual. Up till until now, a lot of the things have been text. Now we are saying, snap a picture. So you're wearing a glass, and then you see an overlay. It's the image processing. All these things require bandwidth. And it's changed from just download to upload. And that's where 6G is very, very, very exciting for me as I learn more. Let's see. So this is just an example trying to blend how the sponsorship, stadium, fan experience, everything can be brought into one very simple activation. That's not an app. It's very contextual. A QR can be injected into a streaming game. It can be put on a display board, right? If there's already an app, this can actually go fit into an app, and then so on. Plenty of things we all can continue to experiment. And all this is happening because of 5G today and Wi-Fi today, and the future, that would be 6G. So personalization is a big theme. Plenty of opportunities to personalize. Technology is already there. It's only going to get better. You'll see new devices too. You'll see Oculus and then other things, new wearables. It's going to be exciting, but the ground truth is there are over 3 billion devices. Almost anybody has it. How can you actually bring applications to life on these 3 billion devices? And also eliminate inequality. Suddenly you have support for multimodality. You can speak in any language, you can listen, you can take a picture, you can read. Unknowingly you're addressing some of the accessibility issues too, which was not thought about so much in the past. And I did my best not to use the term AI from start to finish, but almost everything that you saw on these activations has been powered by AI. It's hosted on IBM Cloud. It talks to multiple clouds, including AWS, Google, Microsoft, and others. I would like to conclude my talk. Would be happy to take questions. But it's been a privilege and pleasure to be here, and thanks for your time this afternoon. Any questions, please? And I'll be happy to share the slides as needed.
I guess one pointed question as to what do you would like from Edge or other compute platforms which would really help you cut down that latency you're talking about?
So I always envisioned, for some reason, being part of a telco, the distribution centers could have been a CDN Edge. That was a lost opportunity. But what's the next after content? That's the machine learning capability. That has to go towards the edge. Then the orchestrator can decide whether it has to go onto the phone or onto the edge, or then it can go to the cloud, because so what we spoke about is user experiences, but when you actually look at a drone, right, a very different class of application where the latency is really, really important. And also on the phone, it's very interesting. When I see my kids, they don't have more than 1 second. If it is not working, they actually move on. So we have to solve both problems. So to your answer, machine learning on the edge is going to be very powerful, because on the device, it's very limited. You can do certain things, but it has to go onto the cloud.
So maybe in taking into your sport use case analogy, right? What if like Stadium decides to have a private on-prem cloud, right? Is that something you have explored your products?
While I was at Verizon, I was really socializing some of these things, but that's really required. You can really bring in stunning experiences, because a lot of things, right? Because the value of content is lost after the first minute.
Yes.
Right? It has to be done. You can't keep pushing and doing all these things. It has to be done right there. It's a classic use case, by the way.
So is any stadium taking shine to the idea of putting an on-prem cloud for these types of experiences?
Not that I know of.
I see.
It's just that the honest truth is we've been spending a lot of time in sports. They move slow. We just have to figure it out. The way they move, also, they run through sponsorships, right? They run through sponsorships. So there are plenty of opportunities how that part can be figured out. And that's my favorite slide, by the way. So that works too. And if that was tested on a real Ferrari at one of the IBM conferences. So thank you all very much. Oh, I'm assuming I'm good now. Yeah. Thank you all. I'm reachable. Happy to have more time.